What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Today's episode is going to be brought to you by Mystery Ranch, built for the mission. And if you haven't been rocking one of the most comfortable and the best built fireline pack out there, well, you're doing it wrong. And guess who makes it? None other than Mystery Ranch. But in addition to all of the fireline essentials that they do make, they make a ton of other load-bearing essentials. And they have solutions for just about everything. Need to put your civvies in a little backpack and throw it under the buggy for the season? Well, they make a solution for you. I need to go peel a trophy elk off the side of a mountain? Well, they make a solution for you. Hell, they even make briefcases, which are pretty badass. I got one myself. Oh, speaking of briefcases and backpacks, they have launched the Backbone series, and it's actually being the Backbone scholarship part of that Backbone series is being paid for by a portion of the proceeds in sales for a couple of backpacks and briefcases. So if you want to help fund that endeavor to help some fire personnel out of there, some people in fire, get some more education under their belts, well, go over there and pick one up because a portion of those proceeds helps fund that scholarship series. And if you don't know about the Backbone series, go over to www.mysteryranch.com and check out the Backbone series. And if you're interested in the opportunity to win one of these Backbone scholarships, well, now's your opportunity. Like I said earlier, go over to www.mysteryranch.com and check out the Backbone series. And if you submit your story and you are selected for the Backbone series, well, you have a chance to win one of these $1,000 grants to go back to school. Pretty freaking awesome if you ask me. And once again, I'm going to say it like a fifth time. Go over to www.mysteryranch.com and check it out. The Anchor Point Podcast is also going to be brought to you by Manscaped. Oh yeah, your balls will thank you. And if you guys don't know what Manscaped is all about, well, they are the premier supplier of below-the-belt grooming essentials. Hell, they even make a lot of other stuff, not just the ball trimmer, the Lawnmower 3.0 ball trimmer, which has got the sweet ass built-in light. It's also waterproof and it's got the skin safe technology to reduce the chance of manscaping mishaps. But they make a ton of other stuff as well. They make the Weed Whacker, which is a badass nose hair trimmer. They also make the shears, which are some awesome fingernail grooming kits. Yeah, and they make the ball toner, the crop preserver, the crop reviver, and they even have a full body wash that smells freaking amazing. But check this out. Listeners to this podcast can get 20% off plus free shipping site-wide over at www.manscaped.com by entering the code AnchorPoint, and that's all one word. So AnchorPoint at checkout. Yeah, that's a hell of a deal. So do your balls a favor and clean the bushes around the trees. And at the same time, you can reduce the chances of those manscaping mishaps. So once again, go over to www.manscaped.com and enter the code AnchorPoint, all one word, at checkout for 20% off and free shipping site-wide. Go check them out. The Anchor Point Podcast is also going to be brought to you by our premier coffee sponsor, and that is none other than Hotshot Brewery. It's kick-ass coffee for a kick-ass cause, and a portion of the proceeds will always go back to the Wildland Firefighter Foundation. But in addition to kick-ass coffee for kick-ass causes, they make a ton of other stuff, like a full line of Wildland Firefighter-themed apparel. They make stickers. They even make baby clothes, kick-ass coffee cups, all of it. And they also make all the tools of the trade to get your morning started off right. So if you guys want to pick up some stuff from Hotshot Brewery, go over to www.hotshotbrewing.com and check it out. Oh yeah, Hotshot Brewery also supports the Anchor Point Podcast by slinging our merch. So if you want to get your hands on an Anchor Point Podcast tee or one of those Fire Fiend tees, kind of like a Misfits themed one, it's pretty rad if you're into the whole punk rock thing like myself. Go over to www.hotshotbrewing.com and check it out. The Anchor Point Podcast would like to give a quick little shout out to our buddy Booze over at the Ass Movement. I don't know about you guys, but I think the Ass Movement is doing some great stuff, and it stands for the Anti-Surface Shitting Movement. I don't know if you've been hiking along on the trail or the fire line or going to your favorite fly fishing spot and seen a pile of human feces gift wrapped in toilet paper. Well, that shit needs to stop, and the Ass Movement is there to remind you so. So if you want to take part in the poo-bearing propaganda, go over to thefirewild.com and check out the ass movement. Oh yeah, and check this out. If you want to pick up some turd trowels or some sweet ass stickers or some patches from the ass movement, listeners to this podcast get a little bit of a discount. So go over to www.thefirewild.com and check out the ass movement, and at checkout, enter the code AnchorPointAss10, all one word, at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Anyways, thanks for doing what you're doing, and keep spreading the word about burying your turds. And last but not least, the Anchor Point Podcast is brought to you by the Smokey Generation, also known as the American Wildfire Experience. And if you don't know what they are all about, I highly suggest you go over to www.wildfireexperience.org and check it out. Basically what it is a digital catalog, a digital archive of sorts of wildland firefighting stories now from across the globe, dating all the way back to the 1940s. There's a collection of over 100 of them right now, and it's pretty awesome. So if you want a little history lesson or a trip down memory lane with some of the peers in our field, definitely go over to www.wildfireexperience.org and check it out. Bethany, you have a kick-ass organization going on over there, and I deeply appreciate what you're doing. Oh yeah, before I forget, I'd like to mention that they have the Smokey Generation grants out there that are available to any writer, photographer, cinematographer, blogger, anybody who's telling the story of wildland fire here in, well, now across the world. So if you want an opportunity to win one of these grants, go over to www.wildfireexperience.org or the Smokey Generation. Just do a quick little Google search and you'll find it. It'll be the first thing that pops up, but you'll have an opportunity to win one of these limited $500 grants. Once again, Bethany, thank you for what you're doing. The views and opinions of this podcast do not reflect the views and opinions of the United States government, the Department of the Interior, the Department of Defense, the Department of Agriculture, the United States Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, National Park Service, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or any private, municipal, county, or state firefighting organization, any law enforcement agency, any medical provider, or any contractor employed by any federal agency. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Hope everybody's doing well, and I hope everybody's getting ready for the upcoming season. Well, apparently it's year-round in some areas. Looking at you, SoCal. Calm down, for F's sakes. But anyways, I hope everybody's doing well, and today on the show, we're going to dive into international affairs, particularly south of the border here in the United States, down in Mexico, down in Baja, Mexico, which is pretty damn cool. So we're going to get a little bit of insight about how business is done there, some of the challenges that they faced as a firefighting organization down there, and we actually have two guests on the show today. We're going to talk about some folks that go down there yearly and do some training, some cross-training as far as tactics, strategies, chainsaws, and donating equipment. It's pretty badass, and I love what these guys do, and these guys kind of came together during a climbing endeavor, I guess you could say. You'll find out about it on the episode, but they kind of came together and created the official crew of the San Pedro Martir Hotshots. It is pretty badass, and you'll find out more about that on the show. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my two good friends, Filipe and Chris. Welcome to the Anchor Point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Anchor Point Podcast. Today on the show, I've got Chris Ives and Filipe. Filipe, I didn't get your last name, man. What was your last name?
León.
León? Nice to meet you, man. And you're all the way from Ensenada, Mexico?
Yeah, and I'm living in Ensenada, Mexico, Baja California state.
Nice, man. And Chris, where are you at, man?
I'm in Durango, Colorado.
Nice, man. So Chris, let's start off with you, man. Let's go ahead and introduce yourself. What are you doing, man? See, you got a sling on your shoulder.
Yep. Yeah. Chris Ives. I'm a squad leader on the San Juan Interagency Hotshot crew here in Durango on the San Juan National Forest. yeah, that's my day job, and been doing a bunch of work the last few years down in Mexico, and that is the reason I'm wearing a sling right now. Actually, I didn't tell Filipe until recently, but after the work we did down there this last fall, I was climbing Picacho del Diablo, which is the highest point in Baja California. And it's a pretty gnarly climb. But anyway, me and one of the other guys on the crew who was helping out with the course, him and I climbed it with my dog, Tula. And it turns out that it's not so easy to get a dog up a pretty remote technical climb. And at one point she kind of slipped on a rock, and I reached out to grab her, and I slipped a little bit, and anyway, felt the pop, and here I am, and a week post surgery, and but wouldn't change it for the world. And next year I'm gonna get to the top of Picacho, and maybe I'll convince Filipe to join me.
Oh,
I don't think so.
He's all like, hell no. So nice, man. How long you been in fire?
This is 11 seasons. This will be 11, I guess.
Nice. Right on, man. How'd you get into it? Did you have the pretty atypical story of oh yeah, someone told me about this, and then I got into it, and now the fire bug got me, and now I'm pretty much doing this for a living now?
Yeah, I guess, just wandering into indentured servitude. No, I grew up back east. I feel like I run into so many people in fire or just out here in the West who, are typical products of East Coast suburb. But yeah, that's me. Grew up in New Jersey, and, I went to small liberal arts college. Once again, classic storyline. Went to school to be a history teacher, and it was, big sports school. I don't know. I always just felt a little out of place. Party scene wasn't my deal. And I was just man, I must be just a weird person, I don't fit the mold. And then, growing up, I'd been in Boy Scouts, and there's this big ranch out in New Mexico that's owned by the Boy Scouts called Philmont. I'm sure a lot of folks have heard about it out there. But anyway, I was maybe, I'll just work a summer at Philmont before I settle down and become a history teacher and a lacrosse coach. And so spent a season at Philmont, building hiking trails, and yeah, never looked back after that, and spent a few years at Philmont, and then worked for Conservation Corps, and ended up living in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Awesome town.
Yeah. And
Flagstaff, that place is badass.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I lived there for almost 10 years, and who knows, I might be back there in the future, but yeah, I worked for Conservation Corps. And then during the 2010 Schultz fire, that was my last year with Conservation Corps, but me and some friends hiked up Mount Eldon in the middle of the night and just sat there and watched the Schultz fire back down the peaks, the San Francisco peaks. And I just from that moment, I fell in love with fire. And then next year started out 2011 fire season with Black Mesa Hotshots. And yeah, I've been on hotshot crews and in fuels. Went to grad school at NAU in forestry for a couple of years during that period, and nerded out on fire moss.
Dork.
And yep. And here I am. So
nice, man. And now we got a special guest on the show. We got Filipe. Filipe, tell us about yourself, man. We don't hear much about the fire program in Mexico, so this is kind of a rare treat. I'm stoked to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm a ranger here, so I'm park ranger in the San Pedro Martir National Park. It's a national protected area there. And when I come from a little town to the south of the state in a little island. It's called Cedros Island. So I born and raised there. And then when I was 18 years old, I come to Ensenada to study biology because I love the nature. Now I grew up in the nature, in the sea, and I love to see the animals there and anything about the animal behavior. And I love that to work with the animals. And and I watch a lot of the National Geographic and Discovery Channel, and I want to study to see how to study animals and anything like that. And I come to Ensenada to go to the university here, and I study biology. And when I graduate from the university, I start working with the Condor project in San Pedro Martir. We have this reintroduction project working with the government from Mexico and US with the San Diego Zoo. So they have this program they capture all the condors in the wild in the US, and they put it in the zoo to make to put it in the nature again, and they bring the project to Mexico because really is a really wild national park. It's really preserved there. And in the 2002, they put in the nature in San Pedro Martir all the condors, and I started working with the guys in the Condor project in 2006. And I worked like 1 year there, and then I'm going through a lot of works like a biologist in some parts in Nuevo León, Mexico, and here in Baja California, with the University of Baja California also. And then when I went to Nuevo León in 2009, I worked 2 years there. And then in 2012, I come back to Baja California again. And I started working with the Condor project again, like only 6 months, I think so. And then I hear about a spot there with the park rangers. And then I changed my work with the rangers. And I have like almost 9 years working like a park ranger. And I'm working, I learned how to be a firefighter with the rangers. And then we have some programs of training here in Mexico. We're working with the CONAF, is Comisión Nacional Forestal, is the U.S. Forest Service here in Mexico.
Okay.
So we work together, and they train us to firefight, and then we start to do that job, and we have a lot of jobs like a ranger. No? We have to clean the camping areas. We have to clean the cabins there. We have to rescue some people if they get lost in the forest, and also we have to do the firefighting, and we have like this program with this administration has from 2010, and I started in 2012 with them, and I'm staying here and still working here.
Nice. So you made it all the way from a condor reintroduction program and breeding them in captivity. And that's a big deal because they were endangered for a long time. The California condor.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
They captured in the 80s, I think so, in California, and put it in captivity in the San Diego Zoo. They do their reproduction there, and they put it in the wild. And it's a really successful project here in Mexico. We have we start with 2 couples only. And they bring in I think 3 condors from San Diego, and we have right now 40 something.
Oh
right
wow!
Now. We have almost 15 condors born in the wild here in the Sierra.
That's awesome, man. Well, that pales in comparison to what you're doing now, as far as going from a condor reintroduction program to firefighting. And it sounds like the program you have down there is more like all risk, like you guys do a little bit of everything. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, we have to do it because we are only like 3 rangers by turn. And we have the fire season. We have like 4 more rangers. It's like a seasonal contracts only for the summer.
Okay.
And we are like seven people only by crew. We have two teams of rangers, and they shift the turns.
Nice. So it's real similar to the way they do it here in the United States with the U.S. Forest Service, the seasonal workforce.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting, man. I didn't know you guys did all risk though. You guys do search and rescue. You guys do pretty much everything. Like I guess cleaning
the bathrooms in the camping zone.
Probably not the best thing about the job.
No, but we have to do it. Yeah.
Oh man.
I think it's cool though. Like, just when I met Filipe and learned about what they do as rangers down there, it's like essentially what a forest ranger in the US was like circa 1920, like they're just out there. They're like a jack of all trades, doing every job. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. I wish it was still like that. But now we have, every PD under the sun, every position description under the sun that, for everything from, park tech to range tech to forestry tech and all this in between. So I kind of wish it was back in the good old days, I guess you could say, kind of like the way Mexico's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you guys link up? Like, tell us a story about that. Like, this is a pretty unique opportunity that you guys share. And now you guys do a lot of cross training as well. You go down there during the winters on your off season. You help train them with like saws and fire tactics and all this other stuff. So let's dive into that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess maybe I can start, and then Filipe, you can contest the details and my fuzzy memory. But yeah, I a couple friends, also firefighters, and I we went down to San Pedro Martir in 2018, I guess it was, and just being a bunch of clueless gringos stumbling into the park and not speaking any Spanish, and deciding we were going to climb that same mountain that I mentioned earlier, Picacho del Diablo. And, I get to the park and I'm like, anybody speak English? and they're like, looking around like, oh, where's the one guy that speaks English? And then out walks Filipe, and he's like, yeah, I will guide you. And, so we asked him some questions, and I don't know. It's just interesting because in the US, I feel like in some ways, like everything's kind of handed to us in a way. Like, just, I don't know if this makes sense, but like with like, there's a street sign for everything, or like there's instructions for everything. And so we kind of like get used to like all of our roads being like paved and, there being like clear direction on everything. And so I get down there and like, I'm talking to Filipe and I'm like, yeah, is it easy to get to Picacho? And he's like, yeah, you just follow the trail and blah, blah. And then we get out there and it's like anything but easy, because I'm used to like having like a trail map in front of me and like trail signs at every intersection and whatever else. And it was like a huge education, and we ended up getting completely lost. But we had amazing time just exploring around. And so didn't make it up Picacho that time. Got turned around this time with the dog. And but next year I'll make it up Picacho. So, but anyway, so yeah, we came back after that first adventure in the park, just really inspired. And we got back and Filipe was there and asked us how our adventure went. And he's like, and I'm like, man, we got completely lost. And I could just see him thinking like, man,
and I say, another gringo,
Yeah.
So Filipe, when this dude showed up and like started talking to you, is like, were you thinking in the back of your head like, oh man, this gringo's gonna die out here?
Yeah, we always think, and not only with the gringos, everybody there. It's really hard. It's a really hard trailer. Yeah.
Yep. Filipe, tell them about the process, like when someone applies for a permit and they have to take pictures of your shoes and stuff.
Yeah, they have to fill a form, and they're gonna put some emergency numbers there, and how many days they're gonna stay there, and then we take a picture of the guy, the clothes and everything, and the footprints. The boots. We take a picture for the boots for see the footprint there.
Oh, so you can track them in case they get lost.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Huh.
We're good trackers if you want to know. We have some rangers that are really good with the tracking to see the track.
Nice, man. That's kind of scary though. It's like, yeah, I got to take pictures of my emergency contacts. I got to have my boots taken pictures of, my clothes. It's like that kind of implies that there's a real risk of dying out there in the woods.
Yeah. Recognize the body,
Yeah, you joke, but that's my thought is like, that's why they do it, is so that they can find your body out in the woods and they're like, oh yeah, those are the pictures of the boots that we have.
That was the clothes.
Yeah, totally. And that's,
man.
Like it's super technical climbing out there. It's like for folks in the US, like if you've been to like Joshua Tree or the Southern Sierras, like, just those big granite boulders where you can really get dead-ended super fast. And it takes a lot of route finding, and you really have to be on top of your stuff to not get dead-ended into like a cliff wall. So it's no joke. If anyone listens to this podcast and then decides they're going to go down and just, saunter up Picacho, I would definitely say, do your research and make sure you're prepared, because it's not easy.
Yeah, it seems like there's some real world consequences with making the wrong decision there, especially if they're taking pictures of your boots and your boot prints. So what draws you to the? This question is for Filipe. What draws you to the park over there? And it's San Pedro Martir.
San Pedro Martir is a pine forest, a mixed pine forest. We have like 7 species of pines there. It's like the California Sierras. It's really, some guys from the US say that it's like Yosemite National Park. It's a lot of boulders, granite boulders, like we say, and we have a lot of endemic species there, and it's really important for this region because all the water is like a sponge, and all the water for the agricultures in the south of the state use the water from San Pedro Martir, and it's really important for all the agriculture of tomatoes and cranberries and all kind of berries here. We export a lot of fruits to the U.S. and they declared the presidential the president here in 1947. They say the San Pedro Martires have to be protected, and because they make in the 46 they make like 2 permissions to cut the trees there on some aserraderos we call, and they think about cutting and use the wood for, I don't know, for sell the woods, and the president and the news for the president run really fast, and he declared they have to be a national park in 47, and they declared in the 21st of February, and the decree publishes at 26th of April the same year, and it's still a national park since. And And in the modern times, we started in 2010 with this administration. But I think all the like a figure of a ranger there started in the last of the 70s and or the 80s. And I know from some fathers of my partner there, another ranger, he started working in the 80s there, like a firefighter and kind of a ranger, but it's not. There was not like a ranger figure like in the US. It's only some. Then I don't know a watch guy there in the woods in the 80s, no, and in the modern times, like in 2006, they started making the figure like a ranger there in National Park in San Pedro Martir. But we have a big network in Mexico, no, of the natural protected areas with the Comisión Nacional de Áreas Naturales Protegidas, is the CONAP. It's like the National Park Service in the US here in Mexico. And we have a lot of national parks and natural protected areas in the sea, in some islands, some forests, in the mountains. And we have a lot of national protected areas here in Mexico.
How many national parks are there in Mexico? I mean, Mexico is it's a big country. I mean, obviously there's going to be a ton of them, but.
Yeah. And I don't have the exact number, but we have one of the biggest in the country. It has like 1 million hectares.
Oh, wow.
Here in Baja California is called Reserva de la Biosfera del Vizcaíno. Is in between Baja California Norte and Baja California Sur states here in the peninsula. And it's really important there because you have the desert and you have the sea where the gray whale come from Alaska to have their children. I don't know how to say. Sorry,
it's like a breeding area.
Yeah, breeding area. Yeah, and it's really bad my English. I'm really sorry.
Oh, don't apologize, man. It's cool.
Okay, and there's some bighorn sheep also in that protected area, and we have a lot of protected island there, including my hometown, Isla de Cedros, and Isla Guadalupe is another remote island here in the peninsula, and we have a little forest there. It's really important to protect there. And we have rangers in each one areas here in the peninsula.
Nice. So what's it like doing forestry, or like I guess forestry management? I mean, you guys got to do it all. So you guys have to do the not clear cutting, but like fuels reduction. You have to do the search and rescue. You have to do everything, even the firefighting duties. So what's it really like working for the federal land management down in Mexico?
Right now, it's a little hard because we don't have that support from the government. You know, we're working with a lot of ONGs, and they help us to do some supports from fundings and because the government, if you work with the government here in Mexico, you cannot have some funding because there are some laws that, you know, maybe some people gonna think is corruption, you know, and we have this law, so we get a lot of help with the ONGs, NGOs, no, it's in English.
It's all right.
And yeah, I think in Spanish and English, you know, and NGOs, and we have this NGO. They help a lot to the national park. Is Terra Peninsular, and they work with us with the national park of San Pedro Martir, and they work with some private national protected areas in the San Quintin Bay to the south of the state, and they work with this protected area in Ensenada Bay here in the sea in Ensenada, and they do a lot of monitoring, birds monitoring, and a lot of stuff they do it. and they help us with these programs like the one we're working with Chris. They help us with the money for the food and a lot of stuff for some equipment.
Nice. So you have to rely on a lot of nonprofit organizations and NGOs to get the work that needs to be done essentially.
Yeah. We it's kind of my job. Also, I have to clean some bathrooms there, and I have to find some NGOs that are interested to work with us. No? And Terra is working with us and working with some private people in San Quintin, like the big agriculture empresas, and they donate a lot of money for us, for the fire equipment and for clothes, I think so. Yeah, for the Nomex teachers,
all the fire protection, the PPE.
Yeah, PPE. Yeah. And we have to work with people like Chris. No, I have. Let me tell you something. When I worked here from 2012, and in 2016, I have an opportunity, and I went to this International Ranger Congress in Colorado, and the Comisión sent me to the Congress, and I knew a lot of people there, no? And I'm still in touch with these people. So we make a lot of working together with some rangers from international national parks like Galapagos National Park, and we still in communication with those guys. And that's like my job here in the national park also, and meet some people like Chris. No, it's really, I feel really fortunate. I just yesterday talked with Chris about that because I am the only person to speak this kind of English, and and Chris come to the national park and I meet her there. So, and we start to do this training process for the firefighters here in San Pedro Martir. And the last year we do the training again. It's the second time. And we have a lot of people from the Baja California state really interested because they hear they hear about the training in 2019 and they are really interested to go there.
Nice.
So we have a lot of people involved right now.
So one question for you two is, how is coronavirus affecting this? I mean, is that kind of putting a wrench in the gears as far as getting assistance down there during the off season for us?
You're talking about like with the training and stuff, like yeah. I'll take a stab at that. And I'm sure we'll get into more of this when we talk more about the training, but like, it was a real, like Filipe and I had many, long phone conversations, talking about the ethics of holding courses and doing work down there in the midst of the pandemic. And, it was a tough decision. But I think we made the best decision we could with what we had in front of us, seeing the benefit of what we could do there and the fact that, the entire course was outside and there was this like perfect opportunity where the people from different organizations that attended the training, they could be completely isolated from each other. And so we, broke up into small groups and, we continued on, and we provided this really awesome opportunity to folks that wouldn't necessarily otherwise get it. And I feel like we did it as responsibly as we could. And, just because there's a pandemic, and I take the pandemic super seriously, like I'm trying my best to do my part. I mean, my mom is in the at-risk category, and Filipe's mom actually passed away from COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so,
man.
Yeah. And, like, so we don't take it lightly. But we also realize like the nature of our jobs, like just because there's a pandemic doesn't mean that, fire season takes a break. And so the work that we're trying to do, the training that we're trying to give folks, like this is stuff that could help them, be a lot more safe in the work that they're doing, and be the difference between someone coming home at the end of the shift or not. So, or at least that's the way I see it. And I'm not saying that's the only way, but that's the cost benefit analysis that we went through. And I still don't know whether it was the right decision, but it's like every day on the fire line, we got to make the best decision that we can with the information we have in front of it. And we have to keep moving forward and trying to do good things in the world. And that's all you can do, right?
Yeah, well, there's no such thing as a zero risk scenario. I mean, you can step off the curb and get hit by a bus. So you got to make do with what you've got, even in the light of a shitty situation.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So speaking of the fire program, the training, now Chris and Filipe, you guys hooked up to do a huge amount of training down there. Now, how does that work? Like, what do you guys do? Tell me all about this. I'm excited to hear about it, because this is like something that you don't hear of too often.
Yeah, totally. Filipe, maybe I'll take a stab from my perspective, and then you can kind of like give your take on it. 'Cause I feel like that's kind of like the cool part about having us both on here is, we have two different perspectives coming from different sides of the border. So, but yeah, so, kind of going back to that initial meeting with Filipe and I, at the park, after we stumbled back into the, park headquarters from our misadventures, trying to find Picacho, and connected back with Filipe, he, showed us their fire cache and, showed us some of the tools, and then, we talked about some of the challenges that the park faced, and, they just don't have access to the type of training that we have up here in the US. Like you talk to like a firefighter in the US, any given year, and they're like, oh man, I got to take this, S class, this training class.
Kind of complain about it.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause we're just like, it's like training is, at every step of the way, there's something, some class you got to take, some hoop you got to jump through to get a qualification or whatever. And they just don't really have that system in place down in Mexico. And it's not because they don't have the capability or because, they're not a professional workforce. It's just that their program hasn't developed and hasn't made 100 years of of management mistakes to learn the lessons that we've learned up here. And so, looking around the park, like first thing you notice when you get to the reception area is, Filipe talked about those species of pine trees and the firs up there. And I think it's important to frame it like these aren't just pine trees and fir trees. These are like, we're talking old growth, never been logged ever.
Yeah, he was saying trees. That they shut down the logging in the 40s, right, Filipe?
Yeah, they like I say, it's really wild there, and there's no any work about the trees, and there's stand the trees there by besides the cabins in the reception, and that's what Chris noticed when he went to the park, and he talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. Like coming from the US, like, every national park or, campground you go into, like hazard tree mitigation, like, it's just like a thing. In some ways it's almost like an overkill. It's like, let's eliminate every single hazard that may or may not exist to humans. And, for better or for worse. But anyway, I get to the park and like, there's just these massive, I think like the biggest tree that we measured on this last course, for those familiar with tree measurement, it was like in the upper 60s for a DBH. So like, 68-inch DBH tree.
Whew.
So big trees down there. And, not only did, as Filipe said, they like established the park to prevent logging, but there was never logging. Like that forest has never been cut. And so it's an amazing gift, but there's also, from a recreation standpoint and from a park infrastructure standpoint, like there's just these nasty snags, hanging over buildings, hanging over campsites, like Filipe was saying. And so that kind of sparked our initial idea of like, well, I'm always trying to like figure out ways of making it a bigger impact through the work that we do. So, we could have just been like, yeah, bro, we'll come down and like cut all these monster hogs for you. But Felipe's kind of a cerebral dude as well. And we put our brains together and we're like, man, no, this is a great opportunity not to just, have a hog slaying fest, but instead we can use this as a training opportunity and, give the park rangers, give the brigade a chance to like take ownership. Like this is their ground, this is their national treasure. And so to give them the skills to be able to mitigate these hazards on their own and integrate, chainsaw use more into their firefighting. And that's what this whole course is based off of, is essentially for those out there who have taken the S212 wildland fire chainsaw course. That's kind of like the basic chainsaw course in wildland firefighting here in the US. So we essentially took the nuts and bolts of that course and expanded it out over a week period, and then included like a more holistic approach. Everything from felling these huge hazard trees to doing a little direct attack scenario where we flagged out, a little half-acre fire in the chaparral and suffered through that.
It was like double overhead chaparral.
Oh yeah, totally, dude. We're talking old growth. So, yeah, manzanita. I still have some scars on my arms from flagging out that fire.
Embrace the suck, right?
Yeah. And then the last portion of the course. So we did the hazard tree, we did basic chainsaw operations, we did direct attack, we did a whole section on mechanics, troubleshooting saws, so that, these guys are miles away from, hours and hours. Ensenada is what, Filipe, a 3-hour drive?
And almost 4 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you have a problem with your chainsaw, if you want to take it to a shop, you got to drive 4 hours to the one steel dealership in.
The only one.
Yeah. So, teaching these guys how to be, self-sufficient with taking care of their saws, and they're running their fleet. And then the last portion, which maybe I'll let Filipe talk about, the final day of the training was, or I guess the second to last, was prepping for their prescribed fire in the park. So we taught them kind of like indirect tactics. Do you want to take a stab at that, Filipe? What's going on with the prescribed fire?
Yeah, it's all this stuff for us is really, really new, because we have this managed plan in the national park, and they writing, I think so, in 2009. And the fire managed, a part of this managed plan is the fire managed plan also. So the fire managed plan included in 2019, I think so. It's really brand new for the park, and is the first fire managed plan. And the University of California worked with us to write this fire management plan with this PH Hiram, you say, no? This professor helped us to write that. And he worked with Hugh Sanford from the Davis University, California, I think so. No?
UC Davis.
UC Davis, and they write the fire management plan for the San Pedro Martir and Sierra Juarez. This is another national park in the state. Is also a pine forest, and it's really similar. And they work with the fire management plan, and we starting to do the field work right now. And we use the Chris training to start to making to prepare the area there in the national park. And it's like this area the Hugh Sanford already worked with, and he make a lot of measurements there and a lot of monitoring of fuels and do a lot of stuff there. And we have a lot of data from there, like things to like more than 10 years of data. And we're gonna make a lot of work around this prescribed burn. We hope that we start with the burning. We hope this year, to the end of this year, the next winter, and it's gonna be the first prescribed burn in the national park, in San Pedro Martir National Park.
So this is kind of like a historic event for your area, right? This has never been done before. You guys are doing your first prescribed fire on the national park.
Yeah, it's the first one, it's a historic one, and because all the fires there is really natural in the forest, really natural. Because in the summer we have a lot of lightning storm, and the lightnings burn they hit the trees, and we have some fire from there. And around the national park we have these fires, but the people make this fire. It's like we talk with Chris about that, because it's like a cultural thing. The people from the ranches, they say they're gonna burn the ground there because they need new grass for the next year, for the cattle.
Yeah, a little agricultural burn.
Yeah, and they don't do it like kind of control burning. They only start to burn the Sierra there. So
they just kind of let it go.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
That happens more often than not over here as well. It's like some people, I mean, it's unfortunate, but some people like burn on a windy day, and the average citizen just doesn't know fire behavior like we do.
Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, just to put that in perspective, though, like, here in the U.S., right? If you go and you start a fire just out of whatever, like, there's going to be, a call into dispatch, and then there's going to be a fire investigator, and there's going to be this whole deal. And like, it is like a big no-no, right? And there's huge litigation that happens. But man, it just really struck me when I was down there, like just how different the culture is of like, you'll just be driving down the side of the road, and there's just like, a hillside is just burned off because someone decided that they were just going to, light this hillside on fire so that they could grow their nopales or whatever. So there's just not like I don't know, would you say, Filipe, like the enforcement down there, or the ethic? Like we have Smokey the Bear campaign up here.
Yeah, we have it here, but it's not as strong like the Smokey Bear now, because I saw the commercial of Smokey Bear since I was a child. But we have this squirrel here.
A squirrel?
It's not that intimidating. Yeah, it's how's the name? Savvy, the squirrel. Yeah.
Sally the squirrel?
It's really funny. And the squirrel has this firefighting equipment, the helmet and everything. and in that's the federal administration, no, with the squirrel. And in the state administration, we have the MAPI, it's a raccoon.
Okay. Yeah. So you guys have a prevention program. Just it's kind of like ours with the outreach as far as like, winning hearts and minds with Smokey Bear. You have the squirrel and a raccoon. So similar, a lot of similarities there.
Yeah. But it's not like about the law, the people who work like investigators, or I don't know. We don't have that much people working there in the environmental departments, we have Profepa, is like the police of the environment, and we don't have enough people here in the state.
So there's not a lot of enforcement opportunities to, even follow through on half of these things.
Yeah, and I think is they have a lot of problem, and they don't have a lot of support from the federal government, and they're really small office here in Ensenada, and is Ensenada is just one part of the state of Baja California, and the administration of Ensenada is really big because it's starting in the city and goes down to the limit with another state of Baja California Sur. There's a lot of land they have to be monitoring, but we don't have the people to check if somebody gonna burn there, or somebody cut some trees there, or do some poaching.
Yeah, I see. There's also some laws about cutting down trees here in our show notes as well. Like, did you explain that as well?
Yeah. We have to do the training. We have to notify to Semarnat. It's like the Fish and Wildlife Service here in Mexico. And we have to notice to the Semarnat, make like a inform. And we learned because it's the first time that we make that stuff for the national park. So we start studying this procedure, and my friend Ives, he worked with me, and he started to see the laws, and the LEGEPA is the environmental law here, and he checked all the laws. And because all the trees are in San Pedro Martir are in this list, they are protected here in Mexico in like endangered species, because they're only in San Pedro Martir and Parque Nacional Constitución here in the state. So they have to check it, and if you're gonna cut a dead tree, you have to have a permission from the Semarnat, because it's a protected species, and you have to say if you're gonna use the wood that you're gonna cut, or you're only gonna, if you're gonna burn, you're gonna say anything that you're gonna do with the tree. And the last word, that we have the last word, because we are the administration of the national park. But we have to say we're gonna make these jobs there to Semarnat, to CONAFOR, and to Profep, like two institutions there, because one is the one that administrate the national protected areas, the other one is because they're the fire management, and the other one is like the police.
I got you.
We have and there's a lot of work, administrating work to do here in the office.
So it seems like you have a lot of the same bureaucratic nightmares that a lot of us over here in the United States have as well. I mean, especially when you have to, you have to do all this prep work, and you have to do all this planning for your prescribed fire program, which is brand new. That's got to be pretty difficult, especially when it's a moving target and you're just now kind of like implementing a program to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah, and another thing that we added to all this bureaucratic and the field job is that we have a national astronomical observatory there. It's the top 3 in the world. So if we're going to burn, it's going to be hard for the astronomers. We work together with the University of Mexico also, that they administrate the observatory.
So you have to coordinate with the observatory as well to make sure you're not clouding or smoking up their view of the sky.
Yeah.
Sounds real similar to what we've got going on here in the United States. It's like the same problems. I mean, it's not like wildfires specific, and unique to United States.
Yeah, it's really similar, but we don't have that much money like you guys.
And that's where Chris comes in too, as well. So, I mean, coming down there and, doing all this training programs. And so one question I had for you, Chris, is what's that like with the language barrier? I understand you don't speak Spanish very well, or do you speak a little broken? I mean, where are you at on the language barrier?
Well, let me just say I'm practicing every day. Filipe bears
I see Filipe shaking his head. Is like, no.
Yeah. Filipe is very patient with we made a rule that like when I send him a text message, it has to be in Spanish. So I'm just like struggling through it. And, I've been doing like self-study courses and trying to get better at it. 'Cause it's something that I really want to, I want to be eventually fluent in Spanish so that, I don't know, it's just, when you go to another country and when you work with another culture, I feel like for me, it's like a sign of respect to be able to, understand that culture and to speak their language. And if I want to continue with my work down there, that's, really important for me, is to be able to communicate with everyone and not just rely on, everyone bowing to our needs and like, learning English or, speaking English. So, but, through the course, I've been super lucky. So I guess to speak briefly on that, like, so the staff, the people that we have as instructors on this course, mostly they're folks that I've worked with on different hotshot crews, over the last 10 years, but, a few of them are fluent in Spanish. So Will Hoff, he was our main interpreter for the first course. And then my brother, actually, Greg Ives, he's not in fire, but he's worked with a lot of natural resource conservation work in Spanish speaking countries. So he speaks fluent Spanish. And we had Calvin join us this past year. He's fluent in Spanish as well. So we have these, bilingual instructors that have been a huge help in, interpreting. And I'm talking like when I teach the lesson on chainsaw mechanics, I'm a huge nerd. So I go into like atmospheric pressure and Venturi principle. And, I look over at Will and he's just like shaking his head like, really, you're going to make me explain Venturi principle in Spanish?
Pop quiz hotshot.
Yeah, exactly. So that was definitely a learning experience. And, even to the point of having to come up with our own terminology, like some of the stuff that we were teaching just there's not words for it in Spanish. So like introducing the concept of sawyer and swamper. So Filipe, correct me if I'm wrong, but so sawyer is aserrador.
Aserrador.
Yeah, aserrador. And so, but in Spanish, there's not really, there's not really a translation for swamper.
No.
So we kind of like thought about it, and Will came up with this idea. Like Will's very poetic, so he's like, all right, well, the sawyer, that's kind of like a knight, so the sawyer, he carries around his sword, or, he's using his sword. So who carries the knight's sword for him? And Will's like, oh, okay. So that's the squire. So we came up with using the word escudero, which means squire, as the term for swamper.
Yeah,
so
we mentioned the Quixote, no? The Sancho Panza and Don Quixote.
Yes,
book from Cervantes. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Don Juan right? Or no, Don Quixote.
Don Quixote.
Yeah.
And Sancho Panza is the square. Yeah. And the escudero.
Yep.
So it's like kind of just making it, I guess, just coming up with a common terminology, which is critical for communications. It's having that common language.
Oh yeah.
And I was talking with Juan Ramon Cruz. Is a guy from the fire department of the CONAF, and they make the translation for the official translation for the fire administration. And he tell me the swamper is like ayudante de aserrador. It's really long in Spanish, And I say to him that no, it's still like escudero because it's short.
Oh man, that's awesome. No, that's good. That's good adaptation, man. That's makes it easy. But so speaking of fire crews, how does that work down there? You said you had only a total of 14 people as far as rangers go on the entire forest, right? So
like 40, 50 40 each year in the summer.
Oh, the seasonals. Yeah, that's right.
14, sorry. 14 or 15, yeah.
Oh, 14 or 15.
Yeah, and each shift of rangers has like 7. They divide all the group, and there's like last year we have just a small fires inside of the forest, but in 2018 we have a big fire to the southern national park, and it was like almost 4,000 hectares there. We have a lot of help from the military people and people from CONAF, and we have I think 50 people working in that fire in 2019.
Okay, so it's kind of like an interagency agreement where you get other people, other agencies to come in and help and assist, or the military, which we do often as well.
Yeah, actually, in Mexico, if natural disasters occur here in the country, we have this law that says is a plan DN3 is a national disasters. And when that happens is when it's really, really big, like that fire in 2018, they send the military to help. And sometimes if hurricane hits in the south, they activate this DN3 plan and send the militaries to help in the hurricane. It's really, really nice plan there.
Yeah, it's like a mutual aid almost with the military. No, that's cool though. There's a lot of, I'm just kind of fascinated by all the similarities that there is between the way Mexico does it and we do it. It's like practically the same way, just a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I could add, that's, there is a lot of similarities, but I think the thing to keep in mind is just, is the scale issue. So okay, so you have 7 people who are responsible. You're like, okay, a 7-person hand crew. All right. So they're responsible for, I think it would be about 150,000 acres. Is that right? The conversion.
The national park is 73,000 hectares.
Yeah, which is, I think I'm not good at the conversion, but I think that's about 150,000 acres for folks in the U.S. So imagine 7 people being responsible for 150,000 acre area. But remember, that's not just fire suppression. That's everything. That's like roads, trails, improvement. That's like Filipe was saying, cleaning the bathrooms, cleaning the cabins, checking in visitors, taking out the trash, security. There's not a law enforcement officer who rolls around the park busting people for, poaching or for cutting stuff that shouldn't be cut or for having illegal campfires. These 7 people are doing everything.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, at the face, it seems like, oh, that's not bad. They have a similar system to us, but it's just, the funding is is not there. And like, you know, that's part of the reason that this work is super important to us is like, you know, I feel like we take it for granted here in the US that we have like, you know, I can get to a fire as an initial attack IC and I just order the world. But there it's like, you know, it's not like he's getting there. Filipe is getting to a fire and ordering like 5 Type 1 helicopters because, you know, that's not going to show up. You know, it takes a emergency order to get the military there with their helicopter. But otherwise, you know, I was sitting, I guess it was 2019, sitting in Ensenada one day when the Santa Ana winds picked up. Or as they call them down there, the Santana winds. So I started calling them the Carlos Santana winds. But picked up, and you're just sitting, you know, I'm sitting there in Ensenada in a coffee shop, and I'm looking at the hills around town, and there's like 5 or 6 fires that just pop off, and they're like ripping through neighborhoods, just burning up houses. And there was one Type 1 helicopter, I think it was, running bucket drops on, you know, 5 or 6 fires that are, you know, 100, 500 acres and growing, just burning through neighborhoods. So it's a different world there. You know, it's like, it's important not to forget that like, even though the systems are in place and these guys are like putting in an incredible amount of work, like, it's just, they don't have the resources that we have here. And so as a result, they're forced to do a lot more with less, you know? I mean, these guys, like, I get to the park and they're like, you know, rebuilding their own trucks and, you know, fixing tools that we would have thrown away, like, you know, 10 years ago. And they're being incredibly resourceful because they have to be, you know? And I think that's worth noting and worth, you know, bringing to light that these guys do an amazing amount with so little.
Yeah, that's one thing that we always take for granted here. I think, I mean, if a vehicle breaks, you just take it to the shop. Okay, no big deal. Tool breaks. Okay, we'll go trade it in at supply. It's definitely one of those things we do take for granted over here. We're very fortunate in that aspect, but there's a lot of other countries. It's not just exclusive to Mexico too. I mean, even places like South Africa are dealing with stuff like that, or, you know, I mean, Chile, I know that they have a small fire program as well, and they have to do the same stuff, man. They have to be extraordinarily resourceful as well.
Yeah, when I went to the Ranger Congress there in Colorado, I talked with a lot of rangers and from all the world, some people from Africa, Australia, and they have the same problems, the same problems. In each national park or national protected area, they have the problem that they don't have the support for the vehicle, they don't have the support for, I don't know, for tools for firefighting, but there are some, we saw some countries, big countries like Australia, they have a really good fire management crew there, and also the US. And actually we have some donation from Australia, some equipment in that National Congress, the International Congress. But we saw, I saw that there's the same problems, no matter what the country was.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, you guys, I mean, is there like a program for exchanging tools and goods and, you know, bringing equipment down there? I mean, is there anything nationally or internationally set up as far as like assisting each other?
Yeah, from the CONAP, we have a lot of donation from the CONAP. They give us the hand tools like the Pulaskis or the McLeods and the some backpacks. But that never gonna be enough, because we always lost the hand tools there in the fires.
Yeah, things break.
Yeah, and from the chainsaws we have like I remember only one donation in 2012, and they donate like two chainsaws. We have like 6 or 7 right now in the national park, and but they make this donation in 2012. I remember the truck, a pickup, and this vehicle, John Deere Gator, and but it's the only donation, and we still in 2000, almost 10 years ago, and we still with the same trucks, and, and we have to fix it and to do all the mechanics there in the park. And if it's something more difficult to fix, we bring into town to Ensenada with a mechanic, a shop there, auto shop.
I gotcha. And now, Chris, when you go down there, you try and bring a bunch of equipment down there with you, right?
Yeah, totally. Because, okay, I don't know if Filipe is very diplomatic, and he's like, oh yeah, we have 6 or 7 chainsaws and we have a truck and a gator. But yeah, like he was saying, like the stuff is like 10 years old, and like, those chainsaws, they're like it's like a hodgepodge, and there's like one, for those familiar with types of chainsaws, there's like one 660, and all of the rest of the saws are like, that's a professional series saw like we would use on fire here in the US. And all of the other ones are like tiny, homeowner types. Yeah, exactly. And
Fisher Price one.
Yeah.
Fisher Price chainsaw.
Yeah. So like they, it's like, I don't know, it's not the tools that you need when you're trying to do things like, implement a prescribed fire and, fight fire in such a huge area. Like they just don't have the tools or the equipment. And, Filipe said they have Nomex, but, they have like Nomex shirts but they wear jeans,
yeah.
And like, so, they're super fortunate to get some stuff, but there's a lot of, things that in my mind, like material that would really help take care of the people, and like keep them safe. And I won't go too much on a tangent, but like you also got to remember, like Filipe might be too modest to mention, but like these guys, it's not like federal land management here in the US. Like, I have retirement, I have something basic like workman's comp, but guess what? The Rangers, they don't have that. So when someone gets hurt on the job, like they have to pull some strings and like figure out a way to help them out. They pass around the collection plate. I mean, a great example is like after the course this year, we're hanging out at Filipe's house in Ensenada. Filipe cooked up some of his famous fish tacos, and we're sitting there hanging out, eating fish tacos, and there's a knock at the door, and it's a nurse. And so one of the other folks that was hanging out with us, my friend Aurora, who she was the first woman to be on the brigade in the park, and she was unfortunately hurt in the course of her duties. She had a compound fracture in her arm.
Oh wow! Ouch!
And so this nurse was showing up, at like 8:30 at night to like dress her wound, because, they worked out a deal. They had some, a friend in the hospital who could help, for cheap to like take care of her wounds.
Yeah, because she's my girlfriend cousin, and she charged really cheap for us.
Yeah. So that's like a great example. Like, I mean, we take these things for granted. Like, you had Luke Mayfield on an episode a while ago, he was my old saw boss on Silver City. But Luke talked about, some of the struggles that we face as firefighters here in the U.S. with being compensated for our work. But, and I hope that things improve here in the U.S. But, as we're working to that same goal here in the U.S., like these guys don't even have the basic things that people should have, in my opinion, when fighting fire. Like if you get hurt, that the government's going to take care of you, or once you retire, that you have an income. And I don't know, like Filipe, a great example. Do you want to talk about your Batman job?
Right now we are making the new contract for this year, so we don't get paid right now. We hope we get paid the last days of February or March.
And I just want to emphasize that, like, everyone should hear that. Like, so Filipe is not getting paid right now, but he's still doing his job because he cares about it and he's hoping that he's going to get a paycheck.
Oh, sorry, wow. You're pretty much volunteering right now.
Yeah, right now. And so I don't have income right now. And we don't have medical insurance and retirement plans. We don't have it. And right now, sometimes in the weekends, I have to work in the taco place here. and my girlfriend and I make some bakery. So we sell some cakes or cupcakes or everything. And sometimes it's hard, but it's really fun for us. But it's really hard for the guys there in the national park. Right now I work more here in the office, but sometimes it's hard to be there in the snow and to attempt to rescue some people from the snow. And then thinking that in your family, like 200 kilometers from the national park, and when you are going to home, you don't have the money to take your family for eating some tacos, or I don't know. I think in that all the time. I don't know how I don't have. I only live with my girlfriend, but some guys here are married, and they have sons and daughters, and I don't know how they make that stuff. It's really, really hard.
Oh wow! I didn't know that. That was a gross assumption on my part that these are, you weren't volunteering for some of these positions. So that's I had no idea.
Yeah, and so something that I learned in when I went into the U.S. in the Rangers Congress. I learned in the U.S. in a national park. I saw it in Guadalquivir National Park in Wyoming. When in the U.S. you say volunteer, but they get paid. And here in Mexico, if you say volunteer, there's no money. There's only like a place where you can stay and a place to eat there in the national park. There's no money involved.
Oh wow! So I mean, is there any talk about upping this program and funding it better so we could provide for these firefighters?
We're working in a foundation right now, the San Pedro Martir Foundation, but we're still in paper only. But we got a lot of help with Terra Peninsular, the NGO. And some money that we get, we pass through Terra, and they pay us sometimes. That's we have this support, a lot of support from Terra right now.
Are there any other organizations besides Terra?
Sometimes we work with. But mainly with Terra is, I think so, because the other ones were only like little jobs, short jobs, but with Terra we work with the last year they contract us in this time because always in each year in January and February we don't get paid because the change of the money administrated here in the government they cut at the end of the year and start again. and the bureaucratic things. And they contract us from February. They pay this month. We don't get paid in the government, and they help us with that.
So Chris, now, did you happen to? There was some talk between you and I about another foundation, another organization that you are trying to get a hold of. Is there any other out there that have been expressing any interest in helping these folks out?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll let me start from the bottom with this, but so that stuff that Filipe brought up, that's real, that's real world problems, right? And so I'm fortunate, as a permanent seasonal employee here in the US, I can go down in my off season and I can work down there. I could also just hang out on the beach, but after meeting folks like Filipe and the other folks at the park, there's a lot of opportunity for us to give back, because relatively, even though things need to be better here in the US as well, but relatively, we have this opportunity to give back and share our time, share our skills, share this excess equipment. How many times have you been on a crew where there's an item that's gently used, but it's time for something new, and so you get all this new stuff, and then all of a sudden there's these, there's stuff that's still usable. So, we're really fortunate. We had several conservation corps, Arizona Conservation Corps, Southwest Conservation Corps, American Conservation Experience. I came up through the conservation Corps world, so I still had contacts with them. So those folks, they all donated, materials that were still good, still usable. And so they donated a lot of stuff to the brigade down there to help them. And then Bearjaw Interagency Fire and Fuels crew out of Flagstaff with Highlands Fire District, they donated some stuff. And then, to circle back to Luke Mayfield, man, he really went to bat, and he actually got brand new Mystery Ranch packs for every member. He worked with Mystery Ranch to get a brand new pack for every member of the brigade down in San Pedro Martir.
That's so nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I love going down there, and it's inspiring for me and for the other hotshots that come down with me. And we learn a lot from the folks at the park, and the least that we can do is, use the access that we have to equipment and gear to help the Rangers out, help the brigade out. So, that's where we started. And so now we have, this cadre of instructors of hotshots from across the Western U.S. So, these folks are all volunteers. We have folks from Silver City Hotshots, from San Juan Hotshots, my crew, Flagstaff, Mormon Lake, Carson, Idaho City, Bitterroot, Feather River, a wide range of folks. And we come together essentially as our own little crew, of instructors to put on this course the last 2 years. And, we're doing this on our own, much in a lot of ways, like Filipe and the park staff, we're just relying, we don't have an organization yet. We don't have, workman's comp. We don't have, we're just relying on our own personal insurance. And we don't have a way to accept monetary donations. So right now, we're at a crossroads where I've been reaching out to programs. I actually have a meeting this afternoon, a virtual meeting with Conservation Legacy, which is kind of like the parent organization for Southwest Conservation Corps and Arizona Conservation Corps to talk about maybe some opportunities for partnering with them, or if they have leads for other organizations that might be willing to like take us on as a program element within their nonprofit organization. I also reached out to the Nature Conservancy, had a promising conversation with them a year ago, but I know with COVID, it seems like those guys have been busy, but hoping that I'll hear back from them at some point. And, you know, for listeners out there, if you know of other nonprofit organizations that currently do work internationally, that currently have agreements in place, you know, that we could be a part of, you know, I'm not ready to leave my job as a squad leader here with the Forest Service yet, at least. And so we're all doing this volunteer, and we're not ready to start our own nonprofit. So if we could still do this work and still, you know, work with folks like Filipe and expand our programming in Mexico and offer this training, but do it within the context of another existing nonprofit, I think we could really make some amazing impact with this work.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure there's tons of people that are somewhat loosely, or if not entirely, organized or affiliated with those organizations like the Nature Conservancy. If they're listening, I'll definitely put some links in the show notes and all your contact information in there, because that's a big program, and these folks need that assistance, man. And as far as additional bodies to go down there and help, are you still recruiting people to go down there and start training?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we have a pretty organized instructor cadre right now. You know, these dedicated folks, and you know, we're calling ourselves now the San Pedro Martir Hotshots. You know, we kind of made our own crew in the tradition, and you know, Filipe can talk to this a little bit, but I think like the ethos of like the Hotshot has been really important in the training courses that we've put on. Just like, you know, especially like the little direct attack exercise where we descended down into the Valley of Sorrows, you know, and I always talk about like, you know, when there's a fire and they need someone to do some suffering, they call a hotshot crew, you know, like it's not glorious. It's not better than anyone else's work, but it involves a lot of suffering. And so like, we kind of tried to impart that on these folks, of like, you know, firefighting is hard work and it's not glorious. And there's a lot of other, maybe smarter things that you could be doing for more money. But, you know, we love it because we love getting our butts kicked, and we love, sweating, and we love suffering with other people, and that makes us stronger as a group. So we try to instill that ethic in the folks that we train. So that's who the San Pedro Martir Hotshots are. We're definitely looking for, if there's other folks who are, you know, you don't have to be a hotshot, but people who are proficient with teaching fire skills, who are, you know, fluent in Spanish, we're definitely open. But I think that, you know, it's going to take program expansion. You know, if we can expand our programs to a lot of, you know, other CONAP units in other parts of Mexico, or, you know, after this last course, we were approached by CONAFOR. They asked us to do training for them. So there's all sorts of need now. And so it's just going to take like the organizational structure for us to be able to offer more courses. And if we do get to that point, then yeah, we're going to need a lot more folks to help out.
Need a lot more people to go down there and instruct, and, you know, even do some fuels projects, it sounds like, too.
Yeah, totally. But I think, you know, like I said, it's going to take a more formal organizational structure, because I can't, you know, do my full-time job and run more than like 2 or 3 courses a year. So that's kind of where we're at now. We're looking for that next step of how to sort of legitimize our program. We've also been talking with the Forest Service international programs. Actually, one of my old Corps members from what's now Arizona Conservation Corps is the director for the Forest Service international programs in Mexico. And she's been super helpful with like supporting us. And then her name's Rachel Sheridan. And then Izzy Solis, who's I think the fire program manager, and Jaylene Vivera, who actually is based in Durango here as well. They all work for the Forest Service international programs, and they've been super helpful with, kind of giving us guidance and making sure that we're not crossing any boundaries or stepping on any toes. Unfortunately, they don't have the funding for us to be able to do our work on the clock right now. But, there might be opportunities for doing some of that work officially for the Forest Service, in the future, maybe in other parts of Mexico where there is funding for that. But yeah, so that's where we are right now.
That's a hell of a ambitious goal that you have there, and I hope that it takes off, man. And kudos to you guys, man. You guys are doing this on a volunteer basis pretty much. Holy shit, man. That's a tall order to do for free. Kudos to you guys.
Well, thanks, man. And, I think we get a lot out of it. And once again, circling back to Luke, he mentioned on his interview with you, like, man, that interview gave me, made the hair stand up on the back of my neck, because I felt like it could have been reaching into my own brain. But that feeling that we all feel at the end of fire season, where we kind of like lose our sense of purpose. It's amazing how therapeutic it was at the end of this fire season to come together with a bunch of other hotshots who are going through the same kind of withdrawal symptoms of losing the season, and just be able to like talk about what we're all going through, and have that support network, and be able to like meet new people and hang out in a beautiful place. And it makes for a really nice transition at the end of the season, versus going from being gone all the time to boom, all of a sudden you're back into the real world, and you have to pick up the pieces from 6 months ago and figure out how to move forward. So
makes sense, man. Yeah, going 100 miles an hour to practically reverse is pretty difficult. So this might be a good opportunity for, once you guys get more opportunities for more bodies to get in there, to kind of, I guess, move around that mental health issue that we all face at the end of the year.
Yeah, totally. And, it was cool to hear Luke talk about that too, because, when he was my saw boss on Silver City, I was just like, I thought he was just like, he put up the wall, the emotional wall of like, I always thought like, oh, this work doesn't affect him. And so for me to hear him talk so vulnerably was really helpful for me, and I think that sparked a lot of other conversations with me and other folks that I worked with. So hopefully it's something that you start to see more in, the fire service, is people being able to like have those honest conversations. And then to kind of circle back with that is like, yeah, like we're dealing with this, but all we think about when we think about Mexico is like drug cartels, the border, and, like police corruption. But you have real life people like Filipe, on the ground, who are doing good work just like we are up here. And they care about what they're doing. But they're not getting taken care of as well as we are. So.
Well, it's just like that conversation that I had with John Norris about the cartel illegal grows here in the States. And that's, that's not everybody in Mexico. I mean, these people they're just like you and I. We all have normal lives. Like everybody on this Zoom meeting right now, we all have normal ass lives, and we got to do our things to make ends meet. And, you know, a lot of those opportunities are, you know, I don't know how to really put it into context, but sometimes they're just not there, you know, especially in Mexico. I mean, like Filipe, for instance, you're doing your job on a volunteer basis right now, and you don't know when you're going to get paid next, man. And I think that's the things that us as in the United States, as Americans, we take a lot of that shit for granted. And I don't think we should, man.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard. And in some places you can see here in Mexico, it's too hard for the people in the little towns where they don't have this where to take the money, you know? So they don't have jobs, they don't have anything. That's why because I don't know, maybe the corruption affect the town in the government or whatever, and they have to do that thing because they have to eat. You know? They don't have some food for the children, so they don't have anything. But they don't have opportunities also, and we have some opportunities here, and we're trying to do the things the better that we could do with the things that we have right now, and we're still working right now. So actually, I have a meeting here in the next hour to make all the planning for the year for these trainings with Chris, who found some donations for the park. I have to do a lot of things right now to volunteer, and also the guys here, they are in the meeting with me. They're working really hard and volunteering right now, and we really don't know when we're gonna get paid. And maybe the next month, I don't know. Yeah, but the government have this attitude sometimes but you're gonna get paid. Yeah, but right now, what can I do? No? Is what we say. It's hard. It's a little hard, but I always think that you can see that we really love our jobs because we do it for free, and we're doing, I think, and it's not in my voice. I hear it from the people that they go to the park. A lot of foreign people, some people from Europe or some people from the US, they arrive to the park and they say that it's really beautiful, it's really clean. You can see a lot of signs, good signs that we made there. And you're gonna see the names of the camping grounds made in the wood. And we work really hard. We clean all the trash that we found there in the forest, and we work really, really hard in the field. And we work really hard here in the office also to keep the national park beautiful as right now are.
Filipe, that's awesome. I'm definitely going to record that quote and put it out as a little teaser for this episode, man. Dude, you guys, thank you. Yeah, that's amazing, man. You guys are really passionate about your work and what you do over there, and it's oftentimes a thankless job, but I just want to say thank you. That's awesome, man. Sounds like a beautiful place, and you want to keep it that way.
Yeah, we're trying. We're working on that.
It's always a work in progress, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's all we can do, right? Is try and just, stave off complacency each day. You got to wake up and check yourself and be like, am I sticking to my values? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Am I still trying to achieve the goals that I set out to, and, man, this work has been such an education for me. Like, I've been so inspired by the work that, and just the willingness to learn. And like, when we put on these courses, like, S courses in here in the US, people are like falling asleep and I gotta be here. But down there, you put on a training course and everyone's just like
riveted,
so eager to learn, to have this opportunity. So it's super inspiring to see that, and definitely makes me, look at my own life and how I respond to things and what I take for granted. So yeah, it's been an education for me, and just trying to keep learning.
I remember once that I talked with Hannah Goldman about the guys here in the brigade. They know a lot of mechanics, and when Chris teaches about the mechanics of the chainsaw, the guys already know about the mechanics. And Hannah asked me, she told me that you're really surprised about the guys, that they have this. They want the training. They have this. You have to feed it, the guys, the training. And Hannah said me that she never see that on a group of hotshots. And I explained to her the education here in Mexico. The basic school education here in Mexico is kind of they teach us a lot of tools, basic tools like mechanics, like carpenters or like plumbers, or they teach us a lot of that profession because we are like a cheap hand men's, I don't know how to say, but what?
Oh, like a handyman, like jack of all trades.
Yeah, because there's a lot of presses here. We have to work with the hands. We have to do a lot of works like that. And if you really want to do like a profession, you have to go to the university. But a lot of people, like the guys that I work at the brigade, they come from the towns near the Sierra, and they only study to the basics. They don't go to the college, and they have to work with the hands, and they already know a lot of mechanics and a lot of construction things. They have this knowledge already. So Hannah was really surprised about that.
Well, the people in the trades though, and like the carpentry, plumbing, all that stuff, they make excellent firefighters because they can usually fix stuff on the fly.
Yeah.
That and ranchers are tough. They make some of the best firefighters out there.
They use the machete besides the chainsaw,
They just cut it down. Bam.
Yeah, with a machete.
Oh man. Well, this has been an eye-opening episode and an eye-opening conversation as to how business is done down there in Mexico. And it was cool to experience this, Filipe. I definitely appreciate it. And Chris, dude, you guys are doing amazing work, man. This is cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. And if folks want to help out, like I think the biggest things right now is, if anyone has a home for us, that's our first goal. But then also, we're looking for donations of supplies. I feel like this past time we were able to, this past course, we were able to set up the brigade pretty good between the donation from Mystery Ranch and from all the other organizations that chipped in. But, now as we go forward, we're looking for if we could get more chainsaws, not only for the park, but, as we start to work with other Park Service units in Mexico, or if we are able to work with CONAP, I think having tools that we can take down with us to other programs that don't have those, like a fleet of working chainsaws and wedges and chaps. Chaps are huge, like, stuff like that. If anyone has leads on, opportunities for donations of those supplies for us as a organization that we can take around with us to put on these courses at different locations. That's kind of like our biggest need right now.
Yeah, and about that, in the name of all the guys here in the national park, we want to say thanks for all the help, thanks for all the equipment. Mystery Ranch give us a lot of stuff, give us the backpacks. Yesterday, just the backpacks arrived yesterday.
Nice.
And I have it in my car right now. Yeah, and I bring one to the meeting that I already have to go. And thank you very much for all of that. Thank you to Chris, to the guys, and we really appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, I mean, if we're getting into the end of the show here, so I mean, how do we get a hold of you guys for questions?
Yeah, for me, if best means of contact is probably email. And I guess you'll probably put it in the show notes, right? But but yeah, my email is pretty straightforward. It's Christopher.m.Ives, and my last name is that Ives. That's spelled I as in India, V as in Victor, E as in Echo, and S as in Sierra. So Christopher.m.ives@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And do you have any socials, any social media outlets as far as the if you guys don't have one yet, do you have one of the San Pedro Martir Hotshots page up yet?
No, we have a little Facebook.
Yeah. So I was going to mention, Filipe. So they're ahead of us, the Brigade. You guys have a Facebook page, right, Filipe?
Yeah, the National Park have a Facebook page. We administrated that also, and we make this little page of the Brigade. The San Pedro Martir, Brigada Forestal, San Pedro Martir is called, and we put some work we do in there, some firefighting, some videos there of the trainings also. And we have to still work. We need more time to do that things, because I don't spend that much time in the Facebook, and I need a little more time to put some videos there.
Copy that.
Yeah, and for us, I'd like to eventually have a web page, but I think we're kind of in limbo land right now. I'll send it to you if you want to put it up on the show notes or whatever. But we have a prospectus, like a little document that just says who we are as the San Pedro Martir Hotshots, and what we do. So that'll help folks, and we, we're not just down here just to provide training. But for us, the bigger picture is like, in addition to the work skills, is just like it's so easy to hate people that you don't know personally, or you can't see, you know what I mean? Like, you look at any war, any conflict, it's predicated on like you not having a personal relationship with the people on the other side of the wall, And so I think like through this work, like us getting to know the folks at the park and vice versa, like, we're trying to really emphasize that regardless of, what political things are going on, like there's still real people on the ground who share common purpose and work well together, so things like that. And like modeling a workforce, like this past year, the instructor cadre, there was 11 of us instructors, and 5 of them were women. We really want to promote like, diversity in the workplace. And we do that through what we model. And that, there was women who attended this course, which is a big thing for Mexico. So we're trying to break boundaries on all sides and trying to force people to think So hopefully that prospectus, and I'll also put forward the link to the forestry seminar that I gave at Northern Arizona University. But that should really help, as a supplement to what you heard on this podcast today of what we're all about and where we want to head.
Awesome, man. Like I said, man, thank you guys so much for being on the show. That's definitely some awesome work you're doing. And keep breaking those boundaries, man. That's freaking awesome. I love it. But last but not least, at the end of the show, I'd like to give an opportunity for both of you to give a shout out to some homies, heroes, mentors. Take it away. Filipe, what do you got?
Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. So I give an opportunity for you to give a thank you or a shout out to a hero, a mentor, a friend. Who do you got for us?
Okay. First, I want to thank to my boss is Gonzalo. He inspires me all the time because he worked really, really hard for the national park. And he always, maybe sometimes Chris don't see him here when he arrives to Ensenada, but he's still there always. He always texts me, and he's there always. And
he's like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's really powerful, but you can see it. Yeah, but he's the nicest person there. And he's a friend from the university, he's a biologist also. And he's my friend since 20 years ago. And I really thank all the work he's doing for the national park. And I want to thank to Chris, for it's a really great program that he built here with us. And he always gets some stuff for us, some everything for us. He helped a lot in the past 2 years with the trainings and equipment and everything, and it makes the things easier for us and for the guys there in the brigade and the rangers, and they work really hard all the time. And I always be thankful with the guys there.
Nice, man. Chris, who do you got for us?
Honestly, there's so many people that have picked me up along the way, dusted me off and kept me going. But right now I think I'm most thankful for the other instructors, the people that have, just like Filipe was saying, the kind of behind the scenes folks, like the brigade folks, the other instructors that I work with, just how much time and effort and they've put in to this work as well, even though I'm the one out here, giving seminars and talking on a podcast, they're doing all the work behind the scenes. So I'll quickly rattle through some names, and I hope I don't forget anybody, but we got Eric Storza, David Dreyer, Greg Ives, Will Hoff, Ian Barbosa, Jordan Mady, Hannah Kligman, Hannah Goldman, Hannah Olson, and Sam Strain. And oh my God, I hope I'm not missing anybody. Did I mention my brother, Greg? Yeah, I think I did. But yeah, just all those people, super amazing folks. I've learned so much from every single one of them. Oh, almost forgot, Phil Martinez.
Yeah, Phil Martinez.
If you've ever seen Born in East LA.
Yeah, the Latin guy that don't speak Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've ever seen Born in East LA, Phil was he was the second choice if Cheech Marin wouldn't have taken that role in the movie Born in East LA. Phil Martinez was next up to that. So.
Nice, man.
But yeah, just I'd also like to thank the instructors. Yeah, both from this year and last year. I'll run through their names real quick. Hopefully I don't forget anybody, but Morgan Rigney, Olivia Gagliardi, Phil Martinez, David Dreyer, Jordan Mady, Hannah Kligman, Calvin Sands, Will Hoff, Hannah Goldman, Hannah Olson, Sam Strain, Eric Storza, Greg Ives, and Ian Barbosa. And then thanks to everybody down in Mexico for teaching me so much. And then I guess finally, thanks to my uncle John. I didn't really talk about it during the show, but he's kind of been an inspiration for me in terms of my love of Mexican culture and the country. He did a lot of work in the 1950s and 60s in community development in Mexico, and he took me on my early trips to Mexico, and he lived down there for a long time, and taught me about what it was like to really be respectful of other cultures and learn from other people. So
nice.
Can I say something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I wanna say thank you to my parents. I don't have it right now with me, and because everything that I am right now, I'm because of them.
Amen, man. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the show, and continue to do some kick-ass work, man. This is pretty fascinating. I've definitely enjoyed the show, and once again, thank you for being on the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Chris, Filipe, we'll see you on the next one. Hopefully we can get you guys back on.
Right on.
Right on, guys. Take care.
See you.
And boom, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, another episode of the Anchor Point Podcast is in the books with our good friends, Chris and Filipe. You guys, thank you so much for being on the show, and definitely cool to hear the way business is done down there in Mexico. And Chris, definitely thank you for doing the volunteer service of going down there and doing some training and gear donation for the Brigade Forestal Sierra San Pedro. That is freaking badass. And Filipe, sorry, dude, my Spanish absolutely sucks. So sorry if I just butchered that. Anyways, if you guys want to find out more about the San Pedro Matir Hotshots, the unofficial, I don't know where it is. It's kind of like it's a volunteer organization as this stands right now, but I'll definitely put that information in the show notes. So be sure to check that out on our socials and in our show notes here on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and wherever you may find this podcast. Oh yeah, it's also on YouTube. So if you want to watch the video version of this, head over to YouTube and check out the Anchor Point Podcast. Special shout out to our sponsors. We've got the Ass Movement. Oh yeah, dude, spreading the word about burying your turds. I'm all about it. Go over to www.thefirewild.com and check out the Ass Movement. We also got Manscaped. They make the best below-the-belt trimming devices, grooming essentials that money can buy, and you can save yourself 20% off and get free shipping by using the code ANCHORPOINT at checkout. We've also got Mystery Ranch, purveyors of the finest packs on this side of the Mississippi. God, man, I'm having a hard time talking today. And they are starting the Backbone Series and Backbone Series Scholarship. So go over to www.mysteryranch.com and check that out. We also got Hotshot Brewery. Kick-ass coffee for a kick-ass cause, and they are slinging that Anchor Point merch. So if you guys want to get some shirts or any apparel or the tools of the trade to get your morning started off right, go over to www.hotshotbrewing.com. And last but not least, we've got Bethany's organization, the Smokey Generation. So if you guys want to go check that out, go over to www.wildfireexperience.org. Bethany, you got a kick-ass organization. Keep it up. And for the rest of you, keep your chin up. Winter's almost over. The season is approaching fast, so I hope you guys guys and girls are ready for it. Anyways, we'll catch you on the next episode. Other than that, stay safe, stay savage. Peace.